In today's video, I'm taking you along with me as I fill this sketchbook spread with memories from my trip to the island of Ilovik in Croatia. This is also the first time that I use Gouache ever, so I'll make sure to share my struggles and the things that I learned with you. Plus, I'll be passing along some tips that will be super helpful for you if you're thinking about using Gouache for the first time. We'll go through my whole process of creating a sketchbook spread, so if you're interested in only one particular part, feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps provided in the description. So without further ado, let's jump right in. For this spread, I'll be using my trusty sketchbook, which is the Strathmore Series 500 mixed media paper with a hardcover. I'll also use my set of Prismacolor pencils for sketching and for final details. And now here is the exciting part, Gouache. It's my first time experimenting with this medium, and I wanted to start with something accessible and highly recommended. So after hearing other artists rave about it on YouTube, I decided to give the Artisa Gouache set a try. Make sure to stick to the end of this video for my thoughts and reviews on this set of gouache. So I'm about to try this new art supply, and I'm struck by a sense of uncertainty. Questions like what should I draw, what if I can't do this medium any justice, and what if I fail are starting to swirl in my mind. But I found that the easiest way to overcome this initial hesitation is by drawing inspiration from my own life and the things that have deeply inspired me. I recently went to the island of Ilovik in Croatia with my friends. We were there only for a weekend, and we had such a beautiful time. We helped my friend's grandpa pick lemons. The weather conditions in Ilovik are perfect for growing lemons, so every house has at least one lemon tree. We ended up picking so many lemons that we had to roll them back with a wheelbarrow. I was so inspired by the colors of the lemons and the sheer quantity of them that I immediately got to do some quick sketches on my iPad. Whenever I feel inspired in my day-to-day life, I like to take quick notes and sketches of the things that inspire me. So if I ever feel stuck and I don't know what to draw, I can just check these notes and be inspired all over again. The next day we went for a walk to explore the island some more. I was inspired by the beautiful houses and their lemon trees. There are also sheep all over the island, which was of course adorable. It may sound a bit cliche, but creating art helps me see and appreciate the beauty that exists all around me. Since I've started drawing and painting consistently again, I found myself more awake and aware. My eyes are wide open and ready to be inspired by the world that surrounds me. After all, art is a way for us to share how we perceive our own lives with the world. Instead of getting caught up in self-doubt, I embrace the opportunity to express my unique journey through art, revealing the beauty that I see and feel within. This short trip was truly wonderful and inspiring. Now that I've shared the inspiration for this piece with you, let's go to sketching. I wanted to try to sketch with a blue Prismacolor pencil because I saw that Valerie Lynn sketches with a blue pencil all the time, and I love her channel, so I tried it out and I really liked it. Whenever I stumble upon a video from one of my favorite artists, I make sure to pay close attention to their process. And if I see them doing something different than what I usually do, I get curious and I want to give it a shot. Once the sketch is done, it's time to get freaky with some gouache. I didn't really know where to start since I've never painted with gouache before. So I made sure to do a little bit of research, and Sofia Pavan, who is one of my favorite YouTubers, said that when you're starting a gouache painting, it's a good idea to start with a thin, watery layer and lay out the local colors without worrying about the blending too much. So I started by setting the base colors for each part of this first painting with thin layers of paint. One of the key qualities of gouache is that it never really sets. So even if it's dry, you can reapply some water and reactivate your paint. Once I had laid out the base colors, I focused on deepening the shadows and the highlights. When you want to layer gouache, it's super important that you wait for each layer to dry. And if you want to avoid the first layers of paint that you laid down to reactivate, you should use paint with a thicker consistency. Sofia Pavan said that the consistency of the paint should almost feel like melted butter. And I love that description because it became really easy for me to know what the consistency of the paint should feel like for this part. This first painting was a huge confidence boost for me. I felt like it was actually pretty easy for me to use wash, especially if I approach it with a plan. I like to start with thin layers of paint to define the local colors. Wait for each layer to dry, and once they are dry, deepen the shadows and the highlights with a paint that has a thicker consistency. One thing that I had to keep in mind is that there is a color shift with wash. So I noticed that often light colors dry a bit darker and dark colors dry a bit lighter. So you have to be patient and wait for the layers to fully dry to make sure that the colors are the ones that you want. I heard of this issue before I tried wash myself, and I honestly thought that this was gonna be a big problem for me. But once you start using the paints, it becomes really easy to recognize how the colors you apply will dry. And even if they dry in a color that you didn't want, it's so easy to paint over it until you reach the colors you want, since it's such an opaque medium. But I personally found wash to be a much more forgiving medium than I had initially anticipated. Now that being said, this next painting threw me for a little bit of a loop. The problem was that my reference image was taken at sunset, and the sheep are both white, which makes it so that they reflect the colors of the sky. And in general, I just find white fur, or wool in this case, to be particularly challenging. I know that in order for the fur or the wool to look realistic, I need to layer all the colors that I see on the coat without focusing too much on the texture at first. But have those colors as a base and layer the texture on top. This way you get a glimpse of all the color underneath the fur and it makes it look colorful and realistic. Of course, this is a theoretical part of it, but applying it to my painting proved to be a bit more challenging for me because having the knowledge and applying the knowledge are two very different things. It's a matter of patience and remembering to be kind and understanding to yourself. That can also be a bit challenging when you feel that the painting is just not going the way that you necessarily want it to. Maybe you're having a bit of a rougher week and it just becomes harder to remember to continue being kind and understanding about your growth and artistic improvement. And we all have those moments from time to time. I mean, we're all human and learning these things is a process. So I was having a bit of a rough time with this painting. But then I got a wonderful comment from one of you amazing people that reminded me how I want to approach my artistic journey. The comment basically said, "I've been having a lot of fun with my art, and it's amazing what improvement you can see with a little time and practice. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm patient and enjoying the process." And this comment kindly slapped me in the face and it helped me get back to a more positive mindset. I'm so thankful to all of you for your wonderful, kind, and supportive comments. At the end of it all, I'm pretty happy with this little painting. Even if it didn't really fully reach my expectations I had for it, I still think it turned out pretty good. So with this newly regained confidence, I'm starting this new painting with a square brush and less careful marks. I've seen many artists that I like use square brushes when they're painting with wash, so I wanted to give that a try. I feel this was a good painting to try this with because there were a lot of lines and bricks in my reference image, and a square brush is a very helpful tool for these things. As for the method I'm using to apply the paint, I'm following the same plan I've had for the previous paintings. So I'm starting with thin layers of watery paint to define the local colors for this piece. Now with a bit of thicker paint, I'm defining the details, lights, and shadows a bit more. And I keep on layering thicker paint on top to define the details more and more. One good tip for you when you want to layer thicker paint on top without lifting or reactivating the paint underneath is to use fewer strokes. Using fewer strokes helps you apply the paint gently and with intention. It of course requires patience and control, but the results are amazing. By using confident, broader strokes, you can spread the paint evenly and achieve the desired thickness without disturbing the layers underneath. So remember to be deliberate with your strokes and enjoy the smooth, layered effect that you can create for your artwork. For this next painting, I'm going to use a bit of tape so I can get a crisp edge, and of course we can get some satisfying peeling content. I'm also trying something else that I haven't tried before with these paintings. The thing is, I've seen many artists that I like use wash with a thick consistency right from the beginning. This technique felt a bit too scary to try before, but after creating 4 small paintings, my confidence using wash has grown a bit, so I'm ready to give it a shot in this painting. But wait, of course there's an added challenge for me. Because who needs the comfort of being comfortable in your comfort zone? Am I right? Just me, okay. I've never painted architecture before, so this is the first time ever that I'm painting a house. Improving my background skills has always been a goal of mine, and to be honest, I've often lacked the motivation to put in the work. However, now is the time for me to try new things, experiment and dedicate myself to reaching the level I aspire to. And this is not coming from a place of thinking that I'm not good enough. I just really want to challenge myself and engage in things that bring me joy. Through my art, my goal is to capture precious memories and share glimpses of my life with all of you. It's a way for me to express myself, create things that bring me happiness, and connect with like-minded individuals. Pushing your boundaries and embracing challenges can be incredibly beneficial for your art improvement. I believe that by stepping out of your comfort zone, you acquire new skills, expand your artistic toolbox, and ultimately become a more versatile and well-rounded artist. Also, there's nothing better than the feeling you get after you finish a painting of something that you thought you could never paint before. Overcoming these challenges helps you believe in yourself more and fight imposter syndrome. As you can see, I'm using a few brush strokes and paint with a thick consistency. This made it so that I had to be particularly mindful of mixing the colors I needed and the placement of them. Once again, the color shift that Gouache has was a bit of a challenge here. My colors just kept drying lighter or a bit darker than I wanted them to. And I had to go over a few sections more than once, but that's okay. Remember to wait until your layers are fully dry so you can try to layer on top. This will allow you to layer without reactivating the paint underneath. But also, you will need to wait for the paint to dry so you can see if your colors dry out like you wanted them to be. I'm adding realism to the tree by defining the shadows more. And here you can really see how much lighter this shadow color dries out. Since this keeps happening, I'm just gonna add lighter tones to the highlights. This helps me add contrast to the tree and make it look more realistic and interesting. And finally, time for some satisfying peeling content. Now that the tape is off, I'm adding a few finishing touches to my painting with a fine brush. I want to add a bit more of color variation, so I'm using my Prismacolor pencils to go over every little painting and add a bit more saturation and finishing details where I see it's necessary. My spread is feeling a bit unbalanced, so I took a photo of it and using Procreate in my iPad Pro, I'm brainstorming a few ideas to balance it out. I wanted to include the name of the island so that I can remember that this was a group of memories from my time in Ilovik. I'm happy with how that looks, so I'm going to sketch it out with a red erasable pencil and fill it in using a color pencil. And with that, my spread is finished. I am so very proud of how it turned out, especially taking into consideration all the challenges that I decided to put myself through with this spread. Of course, it's not perfect. There are a few things that I can improve on next time, but that's just another exciting challenge to come in this adventure of finding myself through my art. Here's my opinion with the Artisa set of wash paints. I must say I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of these paints. The colors are vibrant and most importantly, they offer excellent opacity and an opaque finish. Overall, I'm absolutely delighted with this set and I cannot wait to continue exploring the endless possibilities of wash with them. And I'm not sponsored at all, although I wouldn't mind being sponsored by it because I really liked it. And finally, I want to share with you 5 of the most helpful tips for me for trying wash for the first time. Number 1. If you're feeling a bit uncertain, it's a good idea to start with thin layers of watery paint to define the local colors without worrying too much about blending. This will allow you to easily establish a base for your painting. Number 2. Wait for the layers to dry, because wash never fully sets, and it can easily be reactivated with water, so it's important to wait for each layer to dry before applying the next layer. Number 3. Layering is key to creating depth and texture in your wash painting. You can apply multiple layers of paint if you allow each one to dry before applying the next. Remember to use thicker paint with each layer, because the less water the paint has, the less risk of reactivating the layer underneath. Number 4. Keep in mind that wash has a color shift, so light colors are drying darker and dark colors dry a bit lighter. It's important to wait for the layers to fully dry to ensure the color matches your intentions. And number 5. When you're layering with thicker paint, use fewer strokes. This requires a bit of patience and control, but it helps you achieve a smooth layered effect without disturbing the layers underneath. You won't believe how trying out new art supplies has boosted my confidence and helped me overcome my imposter syndrome. And if you're curious to see my latest adventures with a new art supply, make sure to check out this video where we dive once again into the unknown to discover the magic of creativity. I would love to know what you thought of this spread. What was your favorite part of the process? What was your favorite little painting? Or if there's something that resonated with you. And if this video was helpful to you, it's so helpful to me if you leave a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Ciao!